Good evening, everyone. Happy Labor Day. Tonight, our topic is based on the Deportees Manual for Success. All right. So we know that there's so many issues that arise when you have faced deportation and you end up going back to your origin, right? Your country of nationality where you were born. And, once you get back to that country, it's extremely difficult for you to pick up and get back to your normal life. So I decided to do this short video based on a deportee's manual. Not a deportee, but I have had a lot of friends and associates that have experienced that. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Empire Empress YouTube channel. Please subscribe and share videos, like and shares. All right, we got to support each other out here. So the Deportees Manual for Success. So once you are a green card resident, or you are illegal here in the United States or Canada, once you commit a crime or being accused of committing a crime, you are usually deported. You go to an immigration jail and they actually send you home with nothing, right? So what a lot of people don't know is once you get home, you still have a background there. And so it makes it really difficult for you to go back out there and pick up the pieces and get a job, because not only are you going home thinking you're able to start over, it's really difficult there also because you have a background, and a lot of people don't hire deportees, right? So I had a good friend who went through this, and my advice to him was, please make sure while you're sitting in prison, I know it's difficult, extremely difficult, because constantly people have to be taking care of you, your family members and friends. They're putting money on your books and stuff like that. But you want to make sure that while you're spending money in prison, maintaining and having snacks and stuff like that, you're actually asking them to put some money away in a bank account for you over time. I think that's going to be more important. As a deportee headed home, you have to have a mindset that the only way to survive easily there is to start your own business. Or do some form of service back in your country. A lot of times they go back and they get frustrated. They try to find jobs and they end up becoming drug extorts in the country, meaning they're trading drugs, they are selling weapons because nobody won't hire them. Unfortunately, that's how our system is set up, right? And I just want to give them an encouraging word and something to look forward to. It's not the end of the world, all right? And sometimes things happen to set you back in order to put yourself 2 steps forward. So what I mean by that is this. If you are in a situation where you know for sure that the odds are most likely that you're going to be deported, make sure that you're making calls and writing letters. If you are in the entertainment industry, you want to have people check out your work. You want to start writing radio stations from prison. You want to start making links. Hala, my schoolmate, which is Amber from Area FM, she's pretty good at really putting our Jamaican fellas work out there. She doesn't care about your background and stuff like that. But put yourself out there, your work, what you're interested in. At this point in your life, you have to think of it like it's mandatory for you to be successful to your own dreams. So it's not going to be easy for you to go back out there and get a job working for anyone. So while you're in prison, you need to be putting your own entrepreneur manual together as to what is it that I'm going to do when I get home. So for instance, am I going to be selling clothes? Am I going to use some of the money that people put on my book, save it aside, even $100 I can buy some stuff and start selling? Am I going to be making some links and putting some trades in place? Am I going to be hustling cell phones and stuff like that? Half the time, and I want to send a message out there, these weapons that they're bringing into the country and trafficking or selling end up being the same weapons that kill your family member and your kids. So you want to make sure that whatever you're putting your hands on, it's something that's going to be clean. And overall, it's hard to live a clean life, but you should have strategies in place and make those links, whether it's through Facebook. I don't know what's happening in prison, but there's some link on Facebook. People in there have phones, the same. Make sure that you are putting things in place and linking with some people where you can have those resources when you get out. All right. You can become a driver, meaning you can start driving for companies, transport services, but you might have an issue getting a license. So you want to just try to make some steps out there before you get out. You don't want to leave it for the last minute. All right, you want to be connecting with family members and seeing what the odds are. Some of the jobs that you can actually get into are like security at the piers and stuff like that. So I want to encourage you guys that even though your experience here was different, sometimes things happen for you to go home and better yourself. Because a lot of people feel like the American dream is just a perfect dream, but it's not always that perfect. You know, it's a struggle here as well as it's a struggle in Jamaica. But I want to encourage you guys that make sure that whatever you're doing, it's clean. All right, you want to make sure that it's clean and you're actually giving back. Because my aim is when I fail at something, I try to go back and I go back at it aggressively. Because when people feel like, okay, because you have a background, because you have a background and you did a crime that was so bad, you can't become an asset to society. And I like to prove people wrong. So you want to make sure that you are making plans and you're actually writing them. Make sure you're asking for a journal while you're in prison and you're putting everything together for when you get home. All right, you want to make links. You probably want to either start, I don't care if it's a grocery store, supermarket, a bar that you start, I don't care what you start selling. You work on putting things in place where you can drive, do some form of taxi and transport service or something that's beneficial. All right, see what happens is half the time they go home and they get frustrated because nobody is hiring them, and so they end up hustling. They end up going back to the streets, right? And you don't want to do that. So I'm asking you guys, please, and I'm sending the message out there. Not because you had a criminal history makes you a criminal. Not because you made some bad mistakes means you have to follow that trend for the rest of your life. That's not what it is. Sometimes mistakes are made to empower you, and I want you guys to be empowered. But this violence in our country is really getting ridiculous, right? And a lot of times I understand that the struggles, we don't understand what it's like to be hungry. A lot of us don't. And until you're in a shoe where you don't have a position where you don't have shoes and you're hungry and you face those tough life on the street and you're raised with a mother, you have to see your mother crying and you have to see your mother hungry. You can't speak from a criminal behavior perspective. You know, I have studied criminal behavior, and it's something that I definitely love. I get curious to see what they think, right? And a lot of times we get up and say them evil and them wicked. Yes, we understand we've lost loved ones, and you know it's crazy, but there's more going on, you know, and our system is really messed up when it comes to providing job opportunities for people. So unfortunately, we have to provide those opportunities for ourselves. You know, one of my biggest concern is this. A lot of times, family members can make it so much more difficult for people who are facing deportation because they're stereotyped. They're now all of a sudden the bad guy and they don't have any hope and their life is done. And if you guys know life as well as I do, life is constantly revolving. There's constantly space for change and making improvements. And sometimes what they need is a good support system. Yes, they might end up doing some things to you or whatever, but we have all done things to people and sometimes we deserve forgiveness. But I feel like if we were able to embrace them and provide a better system for them, like, you know, having a trade school, like when people are deported, they could come back home and learn a trade regardless, go out there and get a job. And most of the time, they're so used to people turning their back on them, they become vicious, they become angry, they get involved in criminal activity, and then, it's like considered they're heartless. But really, that's honestly the way they deal with their pain. And I understand, it's not saying that we sent them out there to do all these things and all these things, but a lot of times they came here with a different concept of coming to America, and they felt like it was going to be easy, and it really isn't. I'm being honest with you. Like, in order to be comfortable here, you have to be making a minimum of $50,000 a year to have somewhat of a decent life. And coming from Jamaica with just a high school degree or something, you have had to have some support here to go back to college and a push. I had support and I still made mistakes. So I wish our Jamaican system can find a way to build a center or a school for deportees to go back and learn trades. And, even if they're going to provide them with employment and take a percentage of their first check until they get on their feet. But because of this, our crime rates are extremely high. And family members, listen, you have a family member who was in prison. Please support them. Please support them. We don't understand why they did what they did. We don't understand what's the situation. Yes, they may have done something that was really horrible, but I do believe in change. Trust me, if I can change, anybody in this world can change. I believe in change and I believe in support. And I feel like when you know your loved one is incarcerated, you need to make preparation for them. If you really and truly love them, for them to have a better life and support them when they get out. At least give them a second chance. And a lot of them don't have a second chance. And so they go out here on the streets and they make a life for themselves. And they're thinking about their family. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, they go out there with intentions that they're going to do one crime and end up committing multiple, right? Because the aim is to feed themselves and their family or their children. And desperate men, like I said, do a lot of desperate things. No, don't get me wrong, I don't support violence at all, but I do understand from a criminal perspective where it's coming from. And I feel like we just need to be more supportive and, just find a way to support the deportees when they come back. So for now, they need to find a way to open a business. Okay, so if we have a family member in prison and you decide that you're going to give them $100 a month, why not give them $75 and put $25 in their book every month for 5 years? When they go home, they have some money. They could set up something for themselves, even start selling some clothes or bring back some barrels or something with some things they can hustle, because we already know the situation, right? It is what it is. So if you say you love somebody and it's a ride and die, you're going to ride and die for them and with them, right? And I really feel like also in our country, we need to incorporate some more counseling services and stuff like that, because we don't know. A lot of times it's coming from, they've been raised, they went through a really hard life, they had a single mother, single father, and the fear, they don't want to come back and do that. They're stereotyped and they still have their children to feed. And I want to just please beg you guys to be supportive, provide support, embrace, right? And try to see if we have a different view on things, if things will be better. Okay? Maybe there's a way that we can provide jobs. I would give a deportee a chance if I had a business in Jamaica. But a lot of times they're stereotyped as the bad person. And what they really don't know is the people who really love us and claim that it's our friends, and sometimes our own family is the one that's taking our life. It's not the deportees, but they get blamed for everything, right? So if there's an opportunity that we can set out there for somebody who come home and don't have that experience of working in their country and maintaining, I don't care if it's to deliver newspapers or a way we can find to support somebody, please do that. Don't judge people based on their background or decisions they made that make them to prison. Because sometimes the worst people out there aren't even the ones who have gotten sentenced. It's sometimes the people laying next to us. It's sometimes our own friends and family members, right? So I have a different perspective on life. These people are probably the same ones in school that grew up with issues. They were probably the same ones that were walking around in gang. You don't know what they experienced in their household and what kind of life. You don't know how much trauma or sexual abuse or mental abuse and emotional abuse they went through. And it's not right that they inflict it on somebody else, but sometimes they need help. And sometimes, if I was a criminal, I wouldn't expect anybody to help me. I wouldn't expect anybody to support me. But I definitely would respect somebody who would do that. I would definitely protect them and I would respect them. And I felt like if our system was set up a little bit differently, to support them a little bit more, things would have been different. So what I'm reaching out to them and just saying, write your manual. Create your own business in your head and put things on paper and start putting perspective, making links out there so that when you get out of prison, you are able to sufficiently run your own business or figure out what you're going to do before you get there. But you get there, you end up in a situation where you're stuck and you're not working for years. And of course, you have to survive and you don't care what tree you cut down to survive, right? But just remember,